Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Vaira Citadel. I hope you have benefited from my videos on UGC-NET Paper 1 topics. So far we have covered the first and the second topic, teaching aptitude and research aptitude. And now I'm going to jump into the seventh topic, namely data interpretation, because many of my subscribers have asked for this topic. And also this is an important topic and also very easy topic, and it is before we get into business, let me tell you one thing, that data interpretation is a short way to score 10 marks, 10 out of 10. 5 questions will be there, each question carries 2 marks. 5 into 10, 10 marks. You can easily score the full marks provided you know how to tackle it. So I'm jumping from second topic, research aptitude, to the seventh topic, data interpretation, and there are some more videos yet to be published in research topic. I will do that later in due course of time. And today in this video, we are going to discuss about data interpretation. Now, what is a data? Nowadays, everything is a data. We are in fact surrounded by data. Depending on the context, the data varies from place to place. For example, if I talk about a school, then the number of students, the number of the teachers, the names of the students, the names of the teachers, the marks obtained by the students, their date of birth, all these things form the data for the school. And suppose in a hospital, we can say the number of the doctors, the number of the patients, their diseases, the various departments, the nurses, their names, their salary. So all these things constitute data. Like this, we can go on enumerating. Now I think you got an idea about what data is. And any data will be meaningful only if they are organized properly and interpreted correctly. For example, in the same example of a school, suppose if a teacher fails a student in class 8 because his data of the student's marks are not properly organized and he mistakes one Ramesh H for one Ramesh R. Now imagine what will be the result. He will be failing him when he does not deserve that result. And in the same way, imagine a hospital where the BP chart, the data of BP charts are not of the patients are not maintained properly, or if they are not interpreted correctly, either by the staff nurses or by the doctors, then imagine the consequences. Here the consequences are grave because of the poor organization of the data and the wrong interpretation of the data. So now I hope you have got an inkling of the importance of the correct organization and the accurate interpretation of data. And now what is a noisy data? Noisy data is a meaningless data. For example, while talking about the example of the same school we were talking about, so we say that number of students, number of the teachers, names, their location and their address, all these are meaningful data. And if there is one data stating that my motor in my house is under repair, then this is a noisy data because it has got no relevance to what we are studying. So the proper organization and correct interpretation of data are very, very important. Now, having defined the data, how can data be represented? All data can be represented in the form of numeric tables, line graphs, bar charts, pie charts, caselet forms, or geometrical forms. And in this video, we are going to discuss only about the numeric data table, how to read it, how to understand it, and how to answer the questions. And all the other forms of data representations like the graphs and bar charts, pie charts, we will be discussing in separate videos. Now, before getting into business, let me tell you one thing, that data interpretation is a sure shot way to get 10 marks, 10 out of 10. It's so very easy. And I'll tell you some of the tips and techniques before we start with the problems. Usually in the numeric table form, a table or a paragraph is given and questions are given at the end. And usually these questions involve percentage, ratio, fractions, profit and loss, etc. All these basic arithmetics. And usually long calculations are not given in this data interpretation form. And all the questions involve only reading the passage, understanding them, and putting the data in the right place and a little bit of calculations. So the first thing is you should read the title carefully and the data table and the directions given very carefully. And you should get the overall picture, not just the meaning of each and every data, because data are numbers. By themselves, they don't make any sense. So you read the title carefully, read the directions given there very carefully, and get the overall picture of what is given in the table and what is asked. What is that you are asked to find out. In the table, the year-wise production of some grains or production of some items may be given, and they will be comparing the one period to another period, 1 year to another year. So the data may vary. It could be anything. It could be the growth of the population, or it could be the decline in population, or whatever the case may be. Read the title carefully and get the overall picture, what is given and what is asked. And you should use your rough sheet in a very organized way. Even in the rough sheet, you write the question numbers, because there are 5 questions. You write question number 1, 2, 3 and do your calculations, because the percentage or the profit and loss. You may need to do some simple calculations and use the rough sheets. But even in the rough sheets, you organize them properly with the question number and do the calculation. Because I'm telling this because many of the times the derived answer for the previous question may be used in the following question also. So in those cases, you need not waste your time in doing the calculation once again. So if you look into that second question, your calculation is there and you can get that answer and start working on the 5th question. So organize your rough sheets and do the calculations. And always use your common sense. Now, we'll start with an example of a numeric table. Look at this table carefully and read the directions very carefully. It says for questions 1 to 5, refer to the following table. What does it say? Projected availability and demand for 3 types of coals are given for the period 2006 to 7 and 2007 to 8, and within brackets in 10,000 tons. See, in this table, the availability and demand for 3 types of coal, you know that coal. And the 3 names of the 3 types of coals are given in the table: anthracite, bituminous and subbituminous. Don't get scared by these names. They are just types of coals. So you need not spend so much time in there. You can even call it first type, second type, third type. So in order to process the information very fast. So their availability and demand for 2 years are given. 2 consecutive years are given. One is period 2006 to 7 and another one is 2007 to 8. And note, important thing, note in within brackets, it says in 10,000, I'm sorry, in 1,000 tons. So all the figures are in 1,000. So this is very important and you don't miss that out. Okay. For any calculation, you are going to add 3 zeros because everything means here in the first column it says 7,500. That means 7,500, 1,000. So all that numbers are in thousands. And here you should know that the other name for availability is supply. And you read the instruction and you get an overall picture. Now you know there are the demand and the availability, the supply are given for 2 periods and we are going to answer the questions. Now we will pass on to the questions. So don't spend too much time on reading the types of the coals, anthracite, bituminous, subbituminous. They don't mean anything to us. They are just A, B, C or just 1, 2, 3. See the first question. If the demand for all 3 categories of coal is to be met in the year 2007 and 8, what will be the additional quantity of coal to be produced? This is the first question. And 4 options are given. And you have to pick out the correct options. And here, see, A, B, C is one option. For the answer, A could be correct, B could be correct, or C could be correct, or sometimes A and B is correct and B is correct. You know, the second option is given. So sometimes, in order to, test your ability, the questions may be asked like this, or sometimes directly 4 options are given, A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and you are asked to pick out the correct answer. But in this case, you have to pick out whether A is correct or B is correct or C is correct. Or if both are correct or all the 3 are correct, then pick out number 1, 2, 3, 4 options. So be careful in reading the question. Don't jump into conclusion and mark the answers. So for this question, we did not bother about the year 2006 to 7 because it is not asked. What is asked is only for the period 2007 to 8. And so look into only that column, 2007 and 8. And find out where there is deficit in supply, where the demand is more and the supply is less. It is in the case of anthracite, the type 1. In the case of type 2 and 3, availability is more. So we need not bother about it. So in the first type, anthracite type, how much is more is required to be produced to meet the demand? So how much is in demand? 8,500. And how much is available? Only 8,000. So 8,500 minus 8,000 is equal to 500 tons. And note that everything is in 1,000. So multiply it by 1,000 because the note is given there. All the figures are in 1,000. So 500 into 1,000, 500,000 tons are required to meet the demand. So which is that option? B. So B is the correct answer, which says 500,000. Now the second question is, give the percentage of growth in demand for subbituminous type over the period 2006 to 2007, from this period to that period. And so here only you have to concentrate on the subbituminous type, that is the third type, and only for the demand. You need not bother about the availability. That column you need not bother. Only look at the column of the demand and the 2 for the subbituminous type. What is the, and here you have to calculate the percentage of growth in demand. There is an increase in demand from the first period to the second period, 2006 to 7 to 2007 to 8, there is an increase in demand. So you have to find out what is the increase, that is the growth in demand, and you have to give it in the form percentage. So that is all to it. So for this question, you don't bother about, don't look into anthracite and bituminous type, only look into subbituminous type. And what is the formula you are going to use? The percentage of growth in demand for subbituminous type is equal to demand in 2007-8 minus demand in 2006 to 7 divided by demand in 2006 to 7 into multiplied by 100, because percentage is asked. You are going to multiply it by 100. So substituting this for this formula, we are getting the demand in 2007 to 8 for subbituminous type is 600,000 tons and minus demand in the previous year, which is 500 tons, 500,000 tons. And so 600 minus 500. And what is the base? What are you going to divide it with? 500. That is, the base is the previous year. See, always the growth is for the first thing. Only from the first thing you grow to the second thing. So it should be divided by the base number, which is 500. Because in the previous year, the first year, it was the production. The demand was 500,000 tons. So you divide it by 500,000 tons into 100. What is the percentage? Because the growth of this 600 from 500 is for this 500,000 tons. So 600 minus 500 divided by 500 into 100. So that becomes 20%. And you can also multiply this by 1000, because we said each figure is in thousands. So 600 into 1000, add 3 more zeros here, and here also you add 3 more zeros, and here also 3 more zeros. Everything will get cancelled. So ultimately you will get the same thing, 20% of growth in demand for subbituminous type. So got it? So this is a percentage, simple percentage question where growth is asked. Growth is always from the what is the previous one and to the following one. So then divide it by the base number, which is the previous year, which may be current year or it may be 2006, whatever the case may be. And because they are asking it in percentage, you are multiplying it by 100. So the correct answer is option A, which is 20%. And if you take into account this 1000, each figure is 1000 tons, you can do this. You do it here because we will do it here. So 600 means 600 into 1000. Add 3 zeros, and this also will become 500 into 1000. You get 3 zeros more. So minus this, you will get 100. 100 is 100. Then again, how many zeros? 3 zeros. Alright. Divided by 500 tons. 500 into again 1000 tons. 3 zeros. Kindly excuse my writing because I am not used to writing with mouse. I am practicing, but I am not getting it. I don't belong to this Z generation. I belong to old generation. So it is very difficult for me to write with the mouse. So now, how many zeros are there? 5 zeros. So remove this 5 zeros. And here also remove the 5 zeros. And divide 100 by 5. You get 20%. So in order to do it fast, I am not multiplying it by 1000 because everything, all the things, all the figures are in thousands. We are not multiplying here. You will get the same answer. Try it on your own. I hope you got it. And the option A is the correct answer because it is 20%. Now, the third question. Here what is asked is find the percentage change in shortfall What is shortfall? That is deficit. So what is the change in the deficit? For which product? For the product anthracite. Over the year from 2006-7 to 7-8. So you have to find out what change has happened in the deficit. Actually, there is a deficit in the year 2006 and 2007, and also in the following year. There is a deficit of the product. But what is the change in the deficit? And there is shortfall in the deficit. And what is the percentage? You are going to find out. So this is the question. See, for this question number 3, we need not bother about the bituminous type or the subbituminous type. Why? Because it is not asked. And there are no shortfall in these two cases. Here in bituminous and subbituminous type, availability is more than the demand. The supply is more than the demand. So we need not bother about it. Where is the shortfall deficit? Where is the deficit? Only in the case of the type 1 coal, which is anthracite. And both the years, 2006 and 7, there is deficit. And in 7 and 8 also, there is a deficit. Now the question is, what is the increase or the decrease in the deficit? Shortfall is deficit, isn't it? So what is the change in the deficit? Give it in the form of percentage. So now we are going to find out the deficit in the previous year, 2006 and 7. And then find out the deficit in the year 2007 and 8. And which is greater here. In 2007-8 is the deficit is greater, where the deficit is 8,500 minus 8,000, because the demand is 8,500 and the supply is only 8,000. So what is the deficit? 500,000. And the previous year the deficit is only 200,000 tons. So where the deficit is greater in the year 2007 and 8, the second year. So what is the change in shortfall? Change in deficit is this 500 minus 200, which is 300. So this is the difference. This is the change in deficit. Shortfall is deficit. So what is the change in deficit? 300,000 times. The deficit increases. So always the increase is for the base number. We have told the deficit is for the base number, which was the number originally there, 200 tons. So the change is for 200,000 times. It has increased to 300,000 tons. And what is the percentage of increase in deficit? Into 100. You get 150%, which is the option D. So you might be wondering here, how could there be 150%? Percentage is for per cent. Cent is 100. So how can it be more than 100? Sometimes there can be 150, 200 or 300 percentages. When? There are two types of cases. You know, in one thing, the case first type where there is numerator and denominator. The numerator is limited and also the denominator is also limited. Then the percentage will be less than 100. For example, tossing a coin. I toss it for 100 times. Then what will be the number of the heads? So it will be below 100 only, the numerator. It could be 100 or it could be 0, any number between 0 and 100. So divided by 100, which is also limited. Numerator is the number of heads or tails, whatever it is. It will be lesser than 100. Numerator is lesser than 100. It is limited. The upper limit is known. Upper limit is 100. Lower limit is 0. And the denominator also, the upper limit will be 100 into 100. In this case, the percentage will be lesser than 100. This is case 1. And whereas in the other type of cases, the denominator will be limited, but the numerator can be unlimited. There is no upper limit. Where it will happen in the case of profit and loss. There is no upper limit for your profit. You can sell it for, whatever price you like. So and the loss also, you can sell it for any lower price. There is no limit for it. So in those cases, in the cases concerning profit, loss and growth and deficit, all these things, where the numerator has got no upper limit, whereas the denominator has got the upper limit, because denominator is fixed at the cost price. Always the profit is for the cost price, and also the loss is for cost price. You will not calculate, cannot say my loss is this much, comparing it with the selling price. Always the loss is for your cost price and the profit is for your cost price, which is limited. So in these cases, you may end up with percentage higher than 100. Got the point? Good. Question number 4. Find the ratio of demand of subbituminous type in the period 2006-7 to 7-8. And this is a question on ratio. See, here we are not going to bother about the two types, anthracite and bituminous. Yeah, they are not asked. We are going to concentrate only on the subbituminous type. And we are going to compare two number figures. That is the ratio. The demand of subbituminous type in the year 2006-7 to 7-8. So what is the demand for subbituminous type in the period 6-7 is 500 in 2000. And what is the demand in the year 2007-8? It is 600. So the ratio is 500 is to 600. Of course, into 1000. 500,000 is to 600,000. And on simplifying, you remove all the zeros, you get 5 is to 6. So the correct option is C. See, what is ratio? Ratio always shows the relationship in quantity between two or more things. They show the ratios show the relationship in quantity. For example, I say the ratio of boys to girls in a class is 3-1. What does it mean? This means that there are 3 times as many boys as there are girls. So the ratio is expressed as boys is to girls is equal to 3:1. You should not reverse it. You cannot say 1:3. Then if you say 1:3, it is girls is to boys. That is different. Always whatever you say the first number refers to the first component of your ratio. Boys is to girls is equal to 3:1. Or you should say girls is to boys is 1:3. If you are going to reverse the figure, then you have to reverse the left hand side also. It should be in the same order. Please get that straight. So here the option is C. And see question number 5. Find out which type has the highest rate of growth in availability from the period 2006-7 to 7-8. Here the growth in availability is asked. You are asked to compare the growth between the two given years and find out which has the highest rate of growth. So you have to find this rate of growth for all the 3 types. So in this question, the ratio is asked. Now you can forget about the demand. We are not going to bother about the column demand because this question is dealing with the availability, the supply of all the 3 types of holes in both the years. So we have to find out the growth in availability from this year to this year. That is all the three types. There is growth in the second year than the previous year. So what is the ratio of growth which is greater in availability? The growth, where the growth is more, whether it is in the anthracite type coal or bituminous type coal or sub-bituminous type coal. We have to find out. So now we will find out the growth for each type. First in anthracite. How much is it? It is in the previous year it was 7,300 tons. In the following year it is 8,000. So 8,000 minus 7,300 divided by the base number, the previous year. So I told you always the growth is always for the first or the original number, the base number. So how much is the growth in availability for anthracite? This minus this divided by 7,300, you are getting 7 by 73. And the same thing for bituminous. Now we calculated anthracite. Now we are going to calculate bituminous type. The same thing. What is the available quantity in the second year? 6,400 minus the previous year minus the divided by the base. So what is the growth in availability for bituminous? It is 7 by 25 parts. And then the same thing for the third type, sub-bituminous type. Find out the availability in the second year 660 tons, and the previous year it was 560. So this minus this divided by 560 because it is for the base. What is the increase in growth? Always for the base number, the original number, the previous number, the first number. So you are getting 5 by 23. So we are getting three ratios. So which is greater? 7 parts by 25 is greater than 5 by 23, which is greater than 7 by 73. So this is in the decreasing order. This is the greatest number, and this is the next medium, and this is the least number. So where is the highest rate of growth? Is in the bituminous type. 7 by 25 is greater than the other two ratios. So where do you find 7 by 25 bituminous type? So the highest rate of growth is found in bituminous type, where the rate of growth and availability is more than the other two. Now how to compare these three ratios? 7 by 73, 7 by 25, 5 by 23, which is greater, which is smaller? I will teach you that in a separate video where we will be dealing with mathematical aptitude. All right. And see, here are some general tips for you. That is, which you should remember, which you should never forget. Percentage is always for 100. Okay. And always look for the trend. So you are given a table, numeric table, and you look for the trend. What is the trend? If there is a continuous increase, then you can say continuous growth. And if there is continuous decrease for all the years, for all the period, then there is a trend of decrease. And if it is mixed, 1 year there is increase, 1 year there is a decrease, then you should say fluctuating. And suppose if it remains the same, it is unchanging. There is no growth, no shortfall, then that means unchanging. So look for patterns immediately at the first sight. Looking at the data, you look for the pattern. How does the data go? Whether it is increasing, whether the increase is continuous, or whether the increase is interrupted, whether it is fluctuating, or there is no change, or it is decreasing. If it is decreasing, whether it is continuous or it is interrupted. See, that is the pattern. And it is always to find out the rate. When they say rate of growth, the rate of increase or the rate of decrease, then you find out the difference and divide it by the original base number, the base data, the previous first year's data. And also remember, profit is always for the buying price and loss is always for the buying price. And if the demand is more than the availability, it is called shortfall, and if the availability is more than the demand, it is surplus. So they may use various terms. They may call the shortfall as a deficit, and the availability is more than they call it a surplus, more in supply. So watch out for the correct term, understand it. And always the shortfall will be in minus and the surplus will be in plus. And when you are asked to find out the growth, the rate of growth in demand, or the rate of growth in availability, or the rate of growth in supply, then whatever difference you get, you divide it by the base of the original number. And for average, always you add all the figures and then divide it by the number of items. How many items are there? Then divide it by the number of items. You get the average. This will be dealing in the mathematical, the video on mathematics. And for ratio, it is always, the order is very important. The order of the ratio is very important. And also watch out for the directions given, the note given in your direction. They may say all the figures are in thousands, or all the figures are in tons, or all the figures are in tens, or it may be in hundreds, whatever it is. Look for the data and get the data correctly, and look for the pattern to get the whole picture. Good luck. Hi friends, we have come to the end of my video on data interpretation. As you have seen, it is a very easy topic where you can score full marks. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and watch out for my future videos on mathematical ability and also the other topics on UGC-NET paper 1. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel Vaira Citadel. Thank you. Bye bye.